Shane Dawson made controversial jokes on his old podcast, and people are calling him out online. Before I get into the tea, I just want to put out a disclaimer. Please don't send any hate to Shane Dawson or anyone else involved in the drama. This video is simply reporting on the news and giving insight on the issue. Also, I'm going to block out several words so the video follows community guidelines. Now let's dive into the drama. On March 17th, an old clip from Shane's podcast, Shane and Friends, emerged on Twitter. In the episode, which was released in September 2015 and has now been deleted from almost all podcast platforms, Shane says his animals will never love him.
Things I've done to my poor animals, they will never love me. I've done terrible things.
He then tells a graphic story about and on his cat.
Oh no, I don't know if you want to go there, Shane. What'd you do?
One time, I laid my cat down on her
Are
back.
you gonna get arrested for this?
I don't know. No.
Think about it.
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't penetrate. I laid the cat down on her back, and then I moved her little chicken legs, spread open or whatever. And I was like, if I just but on her tummy, that's not weird. Whatever. And then I kept going. All over the cat.
No, you did not.
It was my first sexual experience.
No
I was also
way.
19, so it's
After he finished the story, Shane added,
I never did anything like that. Well, I never did anything crazy like that.
Maybe that's why.
When people heard the audio, they were disgusted. I'm shaking right now. I'm so disgusted and disappointed. I thought it was just a rumor, but it's on Google Play Music if anyone is interested in finding it yourself. I know some people are saying that it could have been a joke for shock value. I know he's been prone to do that, especially in the past, but this sounded so serious to me. I don't think this was a joke. I just hope he talks about this at some point. Whoa. I hope he was joking because I've watched him since YouTube began, and I know some clips are taken out of context. Please enlighten me on how he stated he took his cat, laid it on its back, spread its legs, and proceeded to its tummy until he could be taken out of context. I genuinely like to know. Shane Dawson actually his cat and on it. Put that sicko in jail. I can't breathe right now. That is absolutely disgusting. Can we start a GoFundMe for Shane's co-host therapy? I did not expect this to be as bad as it actually was before I heard what he said. He was laughing too, and it sounded very genuine. He definitely did it. I've heard him joke around, and that wasn't joking around. He was being honest. Wow. So this true? Yo, I thought the K-pop community was just trolling, but what? K-pop fans on point. They quick. I'm in shock. Why am I so slow on getting onto this? And I'm in the community? I'm disgusted, bruh. Other people brought up his past controversies. Shane Dawson and people who support him. This man did multiple times, called minority slurs and names, justified, called a 6-year-old dry his cat and on it. Don't even try me with that context matters bull. So not only did Shane Dawson make horrific jokes, he's also said the N-word and did countless times, dreamed about his own brother, his cat, and finished on its stomach and made out with his dogs. Absolutely disgusting. Not at how Shane Dawson's racist is, but it takes some and on his cat for y'all to finally want to cancel him. Can he please pick what he wants to go to jail for? Shane has on his cat, whined about being broke and poor despite being a multi-millionaire, a 6-year-old, admitted to Googling, mocked people who requested trigger warnings, had said some problematic is disgusting and unhygienic. But some of Shane's fans stood up for him, saying the story was an example of his old dark humor. If you actually think Shane Dawson his cat because of some gross and dumb joke he made 7 years ago and has apologized for multiple times, big yikes. Cancel culture is so toxic and blind. Honestly, it really annoys me that people call Shane Dawson a yo, he was as a kid. He used dark humor growing up to help him get through everything. And are you serious? You really believe he a cat? No. Bye. I'll play the devil's advocate until further notice. I'm a true crime nerd with a gross sense of humor. I'm a fan of the last podcast on the left. If you listen to this podcast, you'll know that the lads, especially Henry, make horrific jokes. They don't disrespect the victims, but they push the envelope with dark humor that is gross and macabre. Given that Shane has been like that in the past, making horrifically dark jokes, I'd wager that it's a possibility it's the same here. If you took a minute-long clip of Henry riffing from last podcast on the left, you'd probably rage quit. In the context of the episodes, the humor makes sense, and there's a chance you'll laugh. Of course, given the nature of comedy and the subject matter, not all the jokes work. I do find it hard to believe that Shane would do this to an animal. We see how much he loves his pets. I've never once gotten a weird vibe off any of his pet-centric videos. I will admit that it's the delivery and inflections that make me go, y'all better be joking. Still, would he really post this online? Jess was there too. Wouldn't she have pulled him aside after as a friend and say, are you joking? It's all a bit strange. I'd say just wait it out a bit. I wouldn't add flames to the fire. Just wait for him to come forward. Honestly though, even if it isn't true, I think this may lead to a domino effect of failure. Too much in too short a time. One fan made a thread defending him. If any of y'all were actual Shane Dawson fans, you would know that back then, he used to make really dark jokes for shock value. He's changed so much as a person, and I'm proud of him. Heck, remember everyone went after him for something he said? If y'all even watch Shane Dawson now and seen everything he's done to help people and his fans and how much he's changed, you would understand this is a joke from years ago. But y'all want to get on him for things he said a long time ago. He said before, he's not proud of his old self and jokes. I bet you guys would understand and forgive a famous person you love if they changed and apologized. So how is it different from someone you're not a fan of? And some fans had a conversation on Twitter about his old style of humor. How recent is this? Because if it's from before he started accepting himself, he used to tell all these stories that are over the top for the shock value. They were never true though. It's from his podcast in 2015. That explains it. This was pretty much his brand. That's the type of humor he used to do, and he himself said that he was not proud of it. Dude, even if it's from a couple years ago, and even if it isn't true, he's still joking about having with an animal? Not to mention, it isn't his first controversy, and he literally did. But no matter what he does, all his fans are going to keep mindlessly loving him. Pathetic. So, people are not allowed to grow? I'm not saying he's a saint. I don't agree with many things he's doing now, but this is not the topic to be used to bring him down, because this is one that he's learned and moved forward from. Talk about the bad people he's supporting right now, and things he's doing now. Use that against him. Even he himself is disgusted by the jokes he used to make, so find other things he's doing and let the podcast go. Around the same time, other clips from Shane and friends came out on Twitter. In case y'all haven't heard, Shane Dawson is going straight to hell and should be given the entire electric chair. And racism, and now his cat. I'm disgusted. The Twitter user attached a video to the tweet that showed Shane making inappropriate comments about a young girl and wearing. Here's a short clip from the video.
This child was probably 6 years old, and I was taking a picture of something, and the kid turns to me and goes, "Oh, are you Instagramming?" And first of all, how does a 5-year-old, 6-year-old know what Instagram is? Right. Which is terrifying. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I was embarrassed because yes, I was, and it was a picture of my salad. And the 6-year-old girl goes, "Oh, how many followers do you have?" "I have 125,000.
No.
Her was almost as big as mine.
Really?
And I said, "Okay, little big, why do you have so many followers?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm a cheerleader." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she shows me her Instagrams, which are like, first of all, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but like, she's like.
And people on Twitter were disturbed. Chair, but make it electric. Okay, but what is wrong with him? It doesn't matter if he's joking, that's so messed up. What the He's done a lot of things and apologized for them, but that doesn't make them okay. Saying slurs, joking about dry his cat, he shouldn't get to the point where he needs to apologize. He just shouldn't do these things in the first place, humor or not. Long story short, it's common sense to not go around saying you Googled even if you're joking. And if you do, make it clear that you're joking. Because personally, that didn't sound like a joke to me. I want to throw up. I don't see the joke in this, Shane Dawson. Actually shocked, LMAO. How can one be this misguided, LMAO? But some fans defended Shane. You just don't understand what YouTube was like back then. Dark humor was much more acceptable, and that's what got laughs. It's different now because of PC culture. He's a 30-year-old man now. Move on, LMAO. Guys, there's nothing else we can do to defend Shane. A 12-year-old decided that he's going to hell for jokes. Great job taking that completely out of context. Oh my God, it was a joke. He apologized. You want to know what is disgusting? This is disgusting. Haters taking advantage of the so-called exposed Shane thing. And it was a joke. All a joke. Can you stop? Let's talk about the jokes you make with your friends. What about that? Are you going to hell for that? No. Then why would Shane for something he did years ago? The person who posted the Twitter video responded to people defending Shane. There are people defending him? Like saying, that was over a year ago? That is a criminal. I don't care. I've had enough. But the Twitter video isn't new. A YouTube channel called Pop Blast put it out in January 2018. Pop Blast became popular by reporting on YouTubers and uploading videos about fake scandals. But according to Polygon, Pop Blast's channel was finally removed from YouTube after a series of unfounded and incorrect allegations made against one of the original YouTube stars, Shane Dawson, calling him a. Pop Blast uploaded a video titled "Shane Dawson is a Here's the proof, where they showed audio from a podcast Dawson was on years ago, doctoring his comments to make it appear as if he was making disturbing comments about children. That video, which gained hundreds of thousands of views, was then deleted by the channel. On January 10th, 2018, YouTube removed Pop Blast's entire channel, saying it had multiple or severe violations of YouTube's policy against spam, deceptive practices, and misleading content. On the same day, Shane uploaded a video on his channel addressing the rumors. He played a missing moment from the viral podcast clip where he says,
I didn't want to see, I just wanted to see like, okay, let me pretend like I'm a for a second.
Okay, by the way, just for the record, police, I have nothing to do with this. I didn't know this. Like, you can literally get arrested for saying
I know, listen, so I typed in, first of all, I don't understand why anybody would be turned on by that. But
that's the first good thing you said.
But I'm kidding. Okay.
He further explained, I, Shane Yaw, my real name, go on record saying I'm not a Got it? Great. There's my statement. I'm not a It's disgusting that people are saying I'm a because of some jokes from 6 years ago on a podcast. Shane apologized for his old content and explained the jokes he made on his podcast.
I am sorry that I used to make really jokes. I am sorry that I was so insecure and playing this character, this guy who's crazy and will say anything and tries to make people laugh by shocking them. That was my thing. That was what I did on YouTube. A lot of people now don't know that. If you started watching my videos more recently, you might not know that. But back in the day, 2008 to 2012-ish, maybe 2013, that was my thing. I loved the feeling of making somebody shocked and laugh because they couldn't believe what was coming out of my mouth. I wasn't confident enough to make smarter jokes. I was making the easy jokes.
He acknowledged his past racist and homophobic jokes and said,
I've changed so much as a person and as a creative and a director and a writer. The stuff that I was saying back in those times, I would never say now. Ever. Because I don't think that's funny. Listening to that clip just now, I didn't laugh. I didn't think it was funny. But when you hear that clip, you hear my co-host laughing, which was my goal. I wanted to always make her shocked and laugh.
Shane explained that the podcast clip that went viral was cut up and taken out of context. He said he was telling a story about how he met a little girl in full makeup who was posting creepy selfies on Instagram with her dad's help. He said the person who posted the audio didn't include the part where he called the whole situation creepy, but they did include the jokes he made while cutting out him saying, I'm just kidding. He also says he never Googled. I was making a joke and telling a story and lying and being like, well, I Googled. Of course I didn't Google. I'm busy. I don't have time to Google, and that's gross and weird. Shane said he's passionate about exposing in Hollywood, which made the rumors more disgusting to him.
You guys know, I've talked about it so much on my channel. You know this. I'm passionate about shedding light on the fact that there are people in Hollywood that have kids and have been arrested for it and are still working in Hollywood. That's proof, and that's up. And that's what people should be focusing on. But instead, they're focusing on a YouTuber who made a stupid joke. To me, that seems not only crazy, but also distracting from the real issues that are going on right now, right under our noses.
Back to the present. On March 17th, Shane tweeted the response video. For those who missed this a year ago, here you go. Okay, going back to editing now. When the cat audio started trending on Twitter, Shane tweeted his response in a thread. I didn't my cat. I didn't my cat. I didn't put my anywhere near my cat. I've never done anything weird with my cats. I promised myself I wasn't going to make apology videos after last year's thing, so I'm just trying to be as short and honest with this as possible. I've apologized many times for all the dumb shit I've said in videos and podcasts over the years. I've learned my lesson over and over again, and I'm more confident now in my ability to be entertaining by just being myself and not being so shocking for laughs. That story was fake and was based on a dumb, awful sketch idea I had years ago that I never made, thank God. And when the opportunity came up for a funny moment in the podcast, I told it as if it was a real story, which was disgusting and very, very dumb. My goal with the podcast and with my videos years ago was to tell shocking stories that would make people laugh and scream, OMG, no you didn't, and think I was so crazy. It's embarrassing and I hate myself for it. Now that I'm making stuff I love and I'm being myself, it feels so much better, and I finally feel like I'm putting stuff out into the world that means something. I'm not saying I hate everything I've made over the years. There's so many things I'm so proud of, but all of my offensive jokes, over-the-top stories, and insensitive jokes are something that still haunt me, and something I have to be faced with every day on the internet, and it never gets easier. So I'm sorry for what I said about my cat. I'm sorry for what I said about anything or anyone that was offensive, and I'm sorry for being someone who thought being super offensive and shocking all the time was funny. I'm sorry for my past, but I'm ready to make it right, and I feel like without my past, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be able to grow and spend my energy on things that actually mean something. This has been the best 2 years of my life, and it's because I've been able to drop the act and be myself, and I'm sorry for not doing it sooner. Some of Shane's friends made statements supporting him. Garrett Watts, one of Shane's close friends, posted a note on Twitter. A very wise woman, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, once said, "I embrace mistakes. They make you who you are. And damn if that ain't deeply true for all of us." As someone who knows Shane intimately, I can tell you that the shock-style comedy of Shane's past is the least interesting and least genuine side of him, and to see what he's grown into from what he used to be has been truly incredible. For so many, Shane, Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn, Kathy Griffin, a gasp equals a laugh. That's the formula. For reference to the style of humor, look to the 22 seasons of the still-running South Park, where a bestiality joke is considered incredibly timid. That particular story that Shane told was nothing more than an approach to shock-style comedy, and nothing more than a tasteless joke. Shane is one of the most thoughtful, kind-hearted, empathetic guys I know, and the notion of him abusing or hurting another living creature is as implausible as your arms turning into laser-blasting diamond cannons, which, for the record, would be cool as hell, but impossible. So please be forgiving, realize that people change, and use your power to cancel and nullify those in this world who are doing truly evil things. Not a good man who made bad jokes years ago. Andrew Sawicki, Shane's cameraman, editor, and friend, tweeted, "Shane Dawson is a popular creator who makes great content. Does the internet think it's not possible for him to be a good person as well? Because he is the most sincere, caring, accepting, down-to-earth person I've ever met. Sorry to ruin some people's day, but it is what it is." This Shane Twitter stuff is the greatest display of misplaced energy I've ever seen. This is not hot tea. This is not warm tea. This is old, recycled, artificial frozen tea. Really? Out of all the people to try and cancel for an old, edgy throwaway joke? I can't. And Ryland Adams, Shane's boyfriend, wrote, "I wish that everyone would stop trying to cancel genuine people on Twitter. There are so many options when it comes to exposing the bad guys, and you've got the wrong one. If you really go searching for answers, you'll find that Shane's not only good, but one of the best." Even though Shane apologized, people were still disturbed by the jokes. That's disgusting, even as a joke. Yup. Exactly. He's expecting everyone to assume he was joking about whatever he says, but even if it was a joke, who says that? 2009 wasn't a whole generation ago, 19 isn't a child, and wasn't okay back then either. Imagine being so unfunny that your attempt at humor led the entire internet to believe you your cat? That's best case scenario for Shane Dawson. Worst case is he a cat. Best case is he has the worst sense of humor humanly possible. Cancel for either case. People keep saying it's just dark humor and a joke, but where's the joke? Don't get me wrong, I actually like dark humor, but there's literally no humor to it. It's just him telling a story on his cat. There's no punchline, nothing. He even says details like, "I was 19," as if it's a real story, and hesitated before telling her. I don't understand why anyone would think, "Oh, let me tell this joke about me on my cat, but I'm not going to have a punchline and I'm not going to elaborate on the joke. I'm just going to straight up tell it like a story." Because what kind of story is that? It obviously wasn't a joke. He was like, "Oh, the things I've done to my animals." And then he laughs as if he just remembered a memory. Like, I don't 100% believe either way because I don't know, but that doesn't sound like just a joke. It was a story. Personally, I think it's more likely he didn't do it, but what makes me mad is when stans act like you can't even question something like this and it's just petty drama. Like, what the It's pretty serious. I can't believe people are really defending him. It was obviously a joke. Like, it sure doesn't sound like it. Like you said, it 100% sounded like a genuine story. He's only backtracking and apologizing because it got dug up again. To me, the part that shows it was actually a real thing he did was when he first justified it by saying there was no penetration, so it wasn't wrong. That excuse, created in his mind to justify what he did and not think of it as a crime, it's exactly what a lot of depraved people do, similar to victim blaming. I stopped watching him ages ago. He thinks being gross is a personality trait. To be honest, in the nicest way possible, he's just not a very good person. If it's a joke, it's up. I'm done with his I've been defending him forever, and this was the final straw. I just learned today too about his and his racist comments. It's all defended because he was joking. For his jokes, he was an adult making those jokes. You know right from wrong as an adult. I don't know what you guys all want to do from this point, but I'm done supporting him. This time really has me up. I can't believe I supported him at this rate, but some people were supporting and defending Shane. I can name 5 YouTubers who did this and haven't been cancelled because the 2000s were a different time. Social activism wasn't an important or relevant part in society, and many comedians and YouTubers and everybody made dark and offensive and crude jokes. Stop digging up people's past because it's tedious, unprogressive, and not relevant. Our planet is literally dying from global climate change, but you want to hang on to a thread caring about celebrities' past because you're a self-centered social media zealot with nothing better to do. I cannot believe some of you dumb really think Shane Dawson this cat. Well, I'm not defending Shane at all. The things he says are pretty shocking, but I want to give it a benefit of the doubt. His humor, his act, and his entire videos before was based on shock value. The edgy persona with dark humor was all about turning heads with large mouth gasps, and these videos, podcasts were made in an age when Kathy Griffin, Joan Rivers, Bianca Del Rio, and other incel comics had a successful career. If you don't know much about their content, YouTube is your friend. They said much more darker than Shane ever did. When the society as such starts to shift towards a different scenario, in this case being the political correctness with you can't say that culture, old things can't be judged based on the present judgment values. The mature thing to do is to see what led to those events in the past and what is happening now. We are too quick to jump on the bandwagon of canceling people for their deeds in the past rather than looking at their present self after evolution. Past is not the judge of the present. People grow to be good. People grow to be bad. I think it's unfair to Shane that people are digging up all this stuff from the past that he's long moved away from. Everyone does stupid sometimes. A lot of people make insensitive jokes, and everyone unintentionally does offensive things sometimes until they learn to do better. The difference is that most people don't have something stupid they said 6 years ago follow them around for so long. But he's famous, he should know better. He's still human, and humans make mistakes. Should he have made those jokes? No. That kind of stuff should not be joked about. But it happened, and that can't be changed anymore at this point. He's apologized for it. It's years ago. There's no proof he has actually done any of the acts that people talk about, and he doesn't make those kinds of jokes anymore. Like, what more do people want? I don't think it makes sense to hold something like this against him forever. It's not like he actually committed any crimes. Can we reserve the hate for the people who do commit the crimes? Guys, it's obviously a joke. Granted, it was very disgusting, but nonetheless, it was a joke. Just a joke. Almost all of the disgusting stuff you said was debunked. Old Shane was a truly edgy person. Are the jokes very disgusting? Yes. But was it his humor back then? Yes. Although I'm really annoyed and frustrated with Shane right now, come on. Do people actually think he did this to his mom's cat? He used to try to be so edgy, and he actually admitted to terrifying or weirding them out in the past, like Howard Stern and his whole shock jock shtick. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, Shane is mostly full of then. He's full of now, just less controversial. No, it wasn't funny and never will be, but he's trending on Twitter as and into I mean, come on. He's passive aggressive and a whole lot of other things, but this is asinine in my opinion, and other people made jokes about the situation. If I got shot tonight, my dying words would have been something about how Shane Dawson didn't on a cat. No one. J.K. Rowling. McGonagall would frequently take her cat form to have a with Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson's cat after getting him cancelled and creating merch. Shane Dawson's cat after he dies and she's left with his house. Then, on March 19th, Shane proposed to Ryland. Shane announced the news on Twitter. He said yes! Ryland posted a picture of the ring on Instagram and said, "We're engaged! I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. I've never been happier in my whole entire life." The couple got a lot of love on social media. James Charles commented, "Congratulations, oh my God." Jeffree Star said, "OMG, I'm so happy for you both. Congratulations." Trisha Paytas said, "Shane and Ryland are engaged? I literally am crying my eyes out. The most beautiful couple I've ever been in the presence of. Can I be a bridesmaid? I'm so happy. Congrats, Shane and Ryland. Couldn't be happier." And fans of the couple were excited for them. They are actually engaged. That ain't some joke ring on Ryland's finger. Nope, that's an actual engagement ring that Shane bought and then proposed with. I can't wrap my head around this. They are actually engaged. Holy Lord, did Shane and Ryland just get engaged? I don't know what to do. Congrats. I can't stop crying. I'm so happy. Shane and Ryland are engaged. OMG, OMG, OMG. I'm so happy. I can't sleep. OMG. Ryland and Shane are finally engaged. OMG, my heart is so happy. Shane and Ryland got engaged. Are you freaking kidding me? It's what they deserve. But other people thought the timing of the proposal was suspicious. Shane Dawson got engaged in the midst of the his cat explosion. I'm Shane Dawson just got engaged to take light off his scandal and locals are eating it up. Shane Dawson got engaged to divert attention away from his cat scandal. Shane got engaged for the clout after everyone found out he was a on his cat. Shane Dawson be like, let's try to cover up that I'm racist, instead I had with my cat by getting engaged. Theory. Shane Dawson got engaged so people would forget he likes to on cats. Shane Dawson really just proposed to his mans to take media attention away from the fact that he his cat, huh? The timing may seem strange to some people, but there's a reason why it was that specific day. It was the day of their 3-year anniversary, so Shane probably had been planning to surprise his boyfriend with the proposal for a while before it actually happened. And that seems to be the end of the situation for now. So, what's the big issue? There are a few questions we have to answer. Why do people find dark humor funny? When does a joke cross the line? And can people really, truly change? Before we talk about why people like dark humor, let's talk about what it actually is. Dark humor, also known as black comedy, is humor that treats sinister subjects like disease, deformity, handicap with bitter amusement and presents such tragic, distressing, or morbid topics in humorous terms. In other words, it's when you make jokes about things that are considered off-limits or taboo. While a lot of people think jokes about religion or disease aren't funny, there are some people who think disturbing jokes are hilarious. But why? First of all, humor and how it's processed in the brain is very complex. It involves both cognitive and emotional components that influence frame shifting and conceptual blending. Generally speaking, humor is processed in a 2-stage process. You need to recall the necessary background information in your long-term memory, and you need to use your problem-solving abilities. Humor is also dependent on intelligence and your visual and verbal abilities. Basically, what people find funny will vary from one person to another because processing humor uses so many different parts of the brain, and intelligence, visual and verbal abilities, and problem-solving abilities are different in each individual person. So, why are people specifically drawn to dark humor? There isn't a lot of research as to why people like dark jokes, but there is some research about the type of people who like them. According to a study published in Cognitive Processing, people who find dark jokes funny may have higher IQs, show lower aggression, and resist negative feelings more effectively than people who turn up their noses at it. As well, the people who liked dark humor the least showed more aggression and had the worst moods. According to the researchers, processing a dark joke takes more work in your brain compared to processing a simple joke. By the time you get to the end of the process, you have more emotional distance from the joke. It becomes less hostile in your mind. I'm not trying to defend Shane's jokes from his old podcast, but it is important to understand why some people find well-executed dark humor funny. But when does a joke cross the line? The reality is, the line is different for each individual person, and that's why it's so hard to determine when something is too much. Take a look at Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show. When Comedy Central announced he was going to replace Jon Stewart in 2015, he was accused of being anti-Semitic and sexist when fans of the show dug up some of his old tweets. At the time, Trevor Noah tweeted out this response: "To reduce my views to a handful of jokes that didn't land is not a true reflection of my character, nor my evolution as a comedian." Comedian Jim Norton wrote an opinion piece for Time magazine about Trevor's situation. He said, in his rush to be funny, he had broken what has become the new golden rule in American public life, which is to never say anything, or, God forbid, joke about anything, that may be deemed even remotely offensive or upsetting by any segment of the population for any reason. Trevor forgot that in the new millennium, there's a seemingly endless checklist of subject matter that has been deemed inappropriate to address with humor. And by no means is that checklist final. It's constantly changing and morphing and contradicting itself without warning. He also neglected to take into account that Western culture as a whole has become an increasingly reactionary mob of self-censored narcissists who all have their own personal lines drawn in the sand. A comedian is fine unless he crosses their particular line, which, of course, in the mind of the self-censored narcissist, is the only line that matters. While Jim's words may be unnecessarily harsh, you have to admit he has a point. The line that comedians, or regular people, can't cross can change from day to day and person to person. How people will take a joke can depend on who is telling it, who is listening to it, and who the joke is intended for. Christina Wong is an Asian American comedian whose solo show, Wong Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, is about mental illness and suicide among Asian American women. While she has gotten a lot of praise from critics and audiences, she's gotten some backlash for her approach to sensitive topics. She told PBS, "Most pushback comes from people who have not seen the show and only have an idea of what it's about. I've gotten trolls who have messaged me that it's a white guilt show. I've had other people tell me I shouldn't make fun of depressed women. I don't, just myself. I've also had some pushback from folks who have seen clips of the show online and shirk at one specific section where my character does a Google search of Asian women and immediately finds Asian porn star bios. This may not seem like it relates to Asian American mental health, but when Asian American women often find themselves reflected as hypersexualized in pop culture, it can lead to a lot of self-esteem issues. She's also gotten pushback from therapists who don't like her critique of the Western form of talk therapy. However, Christina says she understands why there is a perceived limit to what comedians should joke about. A few years ago, I would have told you that nothing is off limits and that people need to get over their sensitivities, but seeing as how we have a reality TV star in the White House, it's proof that images are powerful and there's no distinction anymore between fabricated spectacle and reality. The line I won't cross now is making work that creates permanent damage to the communities that I see as already facing injustice, but I will make work that challenges oppressive systems. And that's a really important perspective. There are jokes that can be legitimately harmful and damaging to certain people and communities, depending on who is telling the joke. Comedy evolves as the overall culture changes. What's deemed as acceptable shifts as the world shifts. And it's extremely important for audiences to respond to comedians when they feel something has crossed the line. It's how we establish our social norms. But while there is value to calling people out when they make offensive, unfair, or poorly executed jokes, it's also important to remember that each individual has their own boundaries, and no one really has a right to impose their own boundaries on someone else. Something both Trevor Noah and Shane Dawson brought up in their respective statements was change, that they were different people back when they made those jokes compared to now, which forces us to ask the question, can people really change? And the answer is yes. Over the past 20 years, researchers have found that while someone's personality generally remains stable over time, their personality traits can, and usually do, change over the course of their lifetime. And those changes are usually for the better. According to several studies, including one published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, most adults become more agreeable, conscientious, and emotionally resilient as they age, but these changes tend to unfold across years or decades, rather than days or weeks. Sudden, dramatic changes in personality are rare, and this does seem to line up with both Shane's and Trevor's situations. Shane's podcast clips and Trevor's tweets happened years before they were brought back to the public eye, so they could have changed in the years between them making those jokes and those jokes getting public attention. There's a lot going on with the story, and I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers, but I think we need to consider the full scope of a situation before deciding if someone is canceled forever. What did they do, and how did they respond when people brought it up? Shane's jokes were offensive and a poorly done example of dark humor, but he's also apologized for that and hasn't done anything like that since. I'm not defending what he did in his past. I'm not saying it was right, but we have to ask ourselves what we lose when we decide someone is no longer allowed to change. I'm going to leave you with something Philip DeFranco said when he covered the Shane situation on his show. He said,
I respect that everyone has their own reception to whatever has happened ever. I don't get to decide how you receive my past, how you receive his past, how you think about people evolving past that, or if they're always that thing. But I do think we need to question cancel culture, pile on, because if we're always just saying, hey, this person's over, look at this thing from this person's past, that's who they are forever, we're not allowing people to grow past their past, allow someone to evolve, become what they find to be a better version of themselves. And when we crack down and we cancel them and we say you're done forever, especially when it's a person saying I hate who I was, and when you push people away into that corner, you make it more likely that they're just going to double down on the back.
What do you think about this situation? Let me know in the comments down below.